and constructed in 1957. So we talked about transformation, and so from our standpoint, and I would think collectively, transformation has really been defined in two buckets. One is the real estate component of transformation, which includes the replacement of public housing units with more efficient units. It also allows us to use in what we refer to as density, which is we have 1,056 units today. If we use the land a little bit differently, we can not only replace those units of housing, but we also can increase units to help address housing needs within the city of Norfolk. The other side of this, which is really crucial, is the human development side. So we don't want individuals just to get a new unit out of the deal. This is really an opportunity to really engage in a lot of transformation, a lot of services that have already been established. City has already established, along with the authority, as part of the transformation of Tidewater Gardens, the People First strategy. And so that looks in terms of economic mobility, in terms of financial literacy, education, as well as being able to be mobile, in a position to be mobile within the city of Norfolk or surrounding areas should you want to do that. So as part of the next step of this transformation, we talk about serving while planning, which is comprehensive services aimed to and focus at residents to connect them. So what we talk about, which is very much important and why it matters, is getting individuals in a situation where they're private market ready. Whether it is private market in terms of NRHA owned communities or other communities within the city of Norfolk and Hampton Roads, being private market ready is extremely important. It also means that it provides an opportunity for you to think about things or be introduced to things that you might not have thought was on the table. Homeownership is an example of that. Understanding your finances better, being able to position yourself to take advantage of 2-year and 4-year college, as well as workforce. So our people strategy is pretty robust. It's a focus on 4 areas: community engagement, which we've been doing and will continue to do; health, because health is wealth, and even more so than just a line of health as well. You can't take full advantage of these opportunities if you're not in a healthy state of either mind or body. And I would say even go as far as say soul. Income and employment. So there are individuals, counter to what people may think, a lot of individuals work in our communities. And so individuals are either employed or unemployed, but some individuals are underemployed, meaning that with the right set of skills and training, that they can reach a full employment level that gives them more than a livable wage. It gives them an opportunity to really kind of move through and do what they want to do with their own, through their own decision making. Education. We're in an area that has a lot of major colleges and universities, has a lot of opportunities to help move people forward. No one's in this room or online is too young or too old to learn. And so there are opportunities to connect to very much stable growth industries within Hampton Roads to have a really good life and to be able to do what you need to do. So to be able to do that and continue that momentum going, we're partnered with United Way of South Hampton Roads. And so through that partnership, they are going to provide a lot of supportive services through to our residents through a number of different activities, which include case management, mobility mentoring, service navigation and coaching, wraparound services, benefit reviews and incentives, the Norfolk Thrive programming, as well as targeting residents or former residents who have the lived experience to be part of this program, which is very much important. The timetable is here. Well, this is a good example where people may think we are per the word on the street versus where we actually are. So sorry to bore you if you thought we were much further ahead. Surprised we are not, but we were where we need to be. So just to kind of run the table, as Leah outlined, the responses today are as a result of the agency issuing a solicitation. So we issued a master developer solicitation back in January 31st, excuse me. We met and advised over the last several months with the St. Paul's Advisory Committee, also known as SPAC. We've had a stakeholder meeting both with the tenant management corporations for both Calvert Square and Young Terrace, February 26th and 27th. We had a resident forum over at the Scope Exhibition Hall back in March 1st. We had stakeholder interviews, which some of those were continuing to happen, but mainly through March and April with the faith-based community, business leaders, and others. We had additional meetings for Young Terrace and Calvert Square with the residents through the months of February and May. We have another stakeholder meeting in Calvert Square, March 26th. I normally don't read all of these things, but this matters. And we had stakeholder resident meetings on March 27th with Young Terrace residents as well. We did a SPAC presentation at each junction over the last several months, followed with stakeholder meetings with residents of Calvert Square and Young Terrace, April 30th and May 1st. So if you see, the paperwork piece has been put aside fairly early in terms of starting that process, but our engagement process has been pretty deep and robust. I think that's important to really highlight because people think, okay, I have to stand up, as many people know, and talk about a certain news article that implied that we were tearing down these communities by the end of the year, which was not true. But we've always focused and emphasized the importance of engaging people as part of this process. The people are this process. Buildings, construction, real estate, as complicated as we may make it seem, and it is complicated at times, that's easy. The people component of it is always difficult for a variety of reasons, and that's why we wanted to make sure we focused on that. So we're here today, and you'll hear from 3 outstanding firms who have a very good track record across this country in terms of the work they do. As we move forward, we are focused on making the selection of a developer on June 30th. We'll hope that should hopefully continue to hold up. And so, which will be followed back in, which will be followed up in July 14th through the 17th, which is a 4-day charrette. And so for everybody who is saying, what is a charrette? It's a French term. I'm not French. And so I'm just going to tell you the English version of it because that's all I know. And so the charrette piece is a 4-day really interactive discussion where ideas are collected in terms of how you envision your community to look, to feel, the types of things that are important to you that should be shared with the developer as they are thinking through the planning process for both Calvert Square and Young Terrace. So we encourage people to participate as part of that process. Again, another avenue for your voices to be heard, how you want to see things, how you want things to be laid out, and what's important to you. Future activities include community meeting draft plan in September of this year, along with a community review with the Planning Commission as well. We're gonna then try to get to a master plan finale by October of this year. And then we will be submitting an application to HUD under the Section 18 process in late 2025, and with the goal of submitting an application for first offsite build in March of 2026. So you probably are asking, what is the Section 18 process? It just sounds very governmental, and you'd be right. But it is a process for which HUD reviews our plan, looks at the degree of engagement, looks to see what we're proposing and how we can move forward as part of this transformation effort. It does require that degree of approval. As many people know or may not know, we're targeting a lot of different things, but we're trying to focus on a first bill that is off-site within the footprint, but we're also focused on demolishing units that are not occupied. Say that one more time for the people in the back. Well, not those people in the back. Those are our people back there. But for the folks that are in the back who are thinking, what are they going to demolish? We're demolishing first units that are already vacant. Already. Nobody lives there. Nobody's going to live there. It will allow us to start moving through that process. Now, I think this is important in terms of in this to just highlight when we're talking about there's nothing happening, there are things happening. right? We're focused on the first bill. That's an happen. Now, in your own personal life, you might not think that you're impacted by that. But 2 years, 3 years, 4 years goes by pretty quick. And so don't let the knock on the door be, hey, it's time for us to do something. Then you are now trying to figure out what it is I need to do. So these services are available. We definitely want to make sure that individuals are connecting to it and that they're positioning themselves to be in the best position to make a decision where you want to go. Everybody's situation is different. There's people who may say, I'm ready to go today, or I want to stay. There may be other individuals who don't have the option to go anywhere because their circumstances are not feasible for that. This is the time to really focus on that and not put your head in the sand, but really work with us to really kind of really help you develop a plan that is best for you. None of us on here can really dictate in terms of what's best for you at the end of the day. You're in control of that. Some people may not realize what's available to them, and I think that's why we're here to kind of introduce those concepts. So that's the Section 18 process, a part of that, and then the offsite bill. So when you look at it and say, well, they're not going to do anything until late 25 or March of 26, again, this is the time to really engage on the people side of things and engage in those programs and those activities to really help position yourself at the end of the day. So, touched on these a little bit because I had to touch on this before. And so what this process is about, and it is collective, that we have a build first, no displacement strategy, meaning we're not coming to anyone's door today and saying, hey, we're tearing this down tomorrow. So we are working in terms of being able to have a build first offsite. That will dictate a lot of things in terms of how we move, but that is where we are. Again, build first sounds great because it doesn't disrupt you today, but use the time wisely because time goes by pretty quickly and you want to be in the best position to be in control of your own move. Our commitment is really multifaceted. One, our commitment is to making sure that our residents are, again, in a private market ready situation. We're making sure that individuals are connected to resources, both at the city level and the NRHA level. We are committed to making sure that things happen for you that need to happen. Now, for folks who live in our communities, what does this mean beyond that? Our commitment is not just focusing on the future as where you are today. So we're emphasizing, again, the people piece, but we also are making sure and start the process of making sure that deferred maintenance and items with that have been plaguing our portfolio for a good while are addressed. And so we're beginning to get the pieces in place. We've already started refresh activities in Young Terrace, and we'll be sending that to Calvert Square, but we're working this process throughout our entire portfolio as well. And so our goal is to refresh all of our units, frankly, in our family community so that we can address that. That's a huge commitment at the end of the day, because I know a lot of people often think and worry that we're just going to let things go down while we're focusing on the future, and that's not what we're focused on doing. Serving while planning, again, as we talked about, that I can't emphasize that piece enough, because again, you want to be the masters of your own fate. You want to be able to dictate where it is you want to go, and so this is an important part of the process to take advantage of that. The other piece is the community meetings. So we're going to continue to do community meetings. We're all about trying to do meetings, evenings, mornings, weekends, whatever it takes to engage folks, because that's what it's going to take. So I would say to individuals, again, we're going to meet you where you are. But we also need people to be able to participate. I've gone to a lot of these meetings, frankly, and I've seen a lot of turnout, but I've seen regular turnout from folks. But we need to see more, right? Our communities are very large. We're talking about 2,000 people that live in these two communities. And so sometimes, while we may have 30 people, 40 people in a room, which in most cases would be a win, we also know that 40 people or 30 people out of 2,000 people is just a drop in the bucket. And so we need everybody in this room who engage with people in it every day to say, hey, get it. If you get a chance, get engaged. See what's happening, because it really is important. Nearby relocation options, and so we've been talking through that, and so more so than relocation, we're talking about unit transfers, and so those unit transfers enable individuals to move throughout that property or to another property, but moving into a more refreshed unit. Assigned case managers, again, that is an important piece of both United Way, which I've talked about, of Southampton Roads, also our client services department, and Julius Norman, who's the director of client services, and his team, and our resident services specialists who are located on site. If you have any questions at any time, certainly engage them. It's a multi-phase development. It is a huge development of its kind, and so it's going to take some time to do. And development is never perfect, but it is worth the investment at the end of the day. And this represents a significant investment in the city of Norfolk, both in terms of infrastructure, housing, and people. And that can't really be underscored. The project costs, well, I would say by the time we started this process, probably was $1 billion. And if you've been following the news on a variety of ways, it's probably now above 1.5 billion or 2 billion, but that's not because we want it to be, but it does recognize and represent a significant investment within the city of Norfolk and Hampton Roads in general in terms of its overall economy. So without further ado, I'd like to turn this over for the city overview to my counterpart, Sean Washington.
Well, good morning again, everybody. As Nathan mentioned, Sean Washington, just have the honor of serving as the Director of Economic Development here for the great city of Norfolk. And we're appreciative of the opportunity to partner with the Housing Authority, really to make a transformation that's going to put people first, in addition to, of course, change the overall physical landscape of our great city. And part of this overview is going to be two parts. One, just everybody to recognize kind of where we are, the assets that actually exist here in current time. And then secondly, I'm going to bring up my counterpart, Dr. Susan Perry, to really talk more intimately about the first phase of the St. Paul's transformation, which is now, of course, Origin and Kindred. So, all right. So as this is coming up, a couple of just core things just to kind of mention about our great city of Norfolk. And I think we are sharing momentarily. Perfect. There we go. So one key area is just a special place that we exist, right? So Norfolk is over 50 square miles. You can see the image here, kind of separated into 5 wards. We have, of course, 7 council members, 1 mayor here. One of our council members is here. Good morning to you, Mr. Clanton, Super Ward 7. Labor force is really strong. So about a quarter of our population actually exists into our labor force. You can see some of our medium household incomes, which really aligns well with the region as well. And the 235K of a population is continuing to grow as we're starting to see some of the updated numbers. And of course, the Census Bureau taking into consideration the military population that actually exists here. We sit in the middle of a great region. And so within our Hampton Roads MSA, it's about 1.7 million in population. Where you see Norfolk, we're almost in the dead center, of course, our great 7 cities, and also the region itself actually comprises of about 15 altogether smaller counties and municipalities altogether. What's great about this location is the 30-minute drive time. So the access that you have to your workforce is really convenient. When we talk about the workforce that we have access to, it's not just about the population here in our great city, but what the businesses like to hear is that the access to the workforce that's in a regional basis. And because of our prime location, they know the accessibility to that workforce is here. I think everybody knows this great fact here, but we are home to the world's largest naval base that also comprises with NATO as being only North American headquarters as well. What that actually means is about you have access to over 90,000 active duty military personnel. And again, when you go back to the workforce side of things, the stat that we like to use is about 15,000 exiting military personnel in terms of retirement and or veterans are also accessible to our workforce. And so This is a great layer from an attraction standpoint. Just having the military here in itself, we estimate is about a $16 billion economic impact altogether. So when you talk about the stability of an industry and some of the industry verticals that we focus upon, a lot of that persists because of obviously the location of us being bounded by water, in addition to having the access to our military. On top of that, we have one of the world's greatest ports as well. So we have the third largest port on the East Coast. One of the things that you'll actually see is that the port right now is doing the dredging, which means we're going to be the deepest and widest port on the West Coast. And what that allows us to do have two-way traffic of some of our largest vessels worldwide actually have access to our channels, which means we're able to stand up aggressively a strong and competent logistical industry as well. And you can see that the NIT, which is Norfolk International Terminals, which is the headquarters of our 5 port operations, actually sits here in our great city also. We are the region's business center. So the concentration of jobs actually sits here in the city of Norfolk. Over 200,000 jobs are actually in Norfolk, and that's actually a good mixture. So when you think about some of the industry verticals of professional services, so of course, our lawyers, our insurance brokers, our banking institutions, right? The lion's share of those jobs exist downtown. But then you have to bring in some of the business parks. We have over 8 business parks here in the city of Norfolk, which actually has a hybrid of some of the other industries like light manufacturing and assembly. Over 19,000 jobs actually sits within those business parks. So you combine the skills trades with the professional services, and that helps us identify as being the world's job center here as well. This is a great visual we like to share. It really just starts to lean into all the assets that exist in our great city of Norfolk, and they're in various industry verticals. We talked about the Naval Shipyard. We talked about, of course, NATO. You also have great institutions, the Old Dominion University, and of course, Historical Black University in Norfolk State. The hospital system is actually here, Centera Health, Centera General, Centera Lee, CHKD, which is the only children's freestanding hospital in the state of Virginia. And then we have the great merger, of course, with ODU and formerly EVMS for the Macon Brock Institute, which is the largest public health institution that we have in the state of Virginia, all sitting here in the city of Norfolk. And so when you're able to look at this slide and see all the benefits to our great city, I think this captures a part of that narrative very well. So this growth that you see in our city is not by happenstance, right? Everything is planning. And of course, we're talking about that as we speak. This is a great visual where you see, obviously, in 1967, our downtown landscape, clearly pointing out City Hall. And you can actually see that icon of where the Hilton Main Hotel, which is right next to us on today. This is actually a great image of that skyline dating back to 1997. You're starting to see the office presence really built out. Again, that was intentional in terms of our strategy. And now you can see Norfolk really in its current time. And so really having a diverse experience of everything from food and bev, obviously, to retail, quality of life, entertainment, festivals, the whole 9 yards exists in our downtown landscape. And again, this is all from a strategic planning standpoint. And that's why we're here today, that we are continuing that great work that some of our leadership has done in years past. I want to actually give you some data points to really think about. So there was I will say that there was a little bit of a narrative that, again, in terms of our city, was not able to diversify away from the military, right? We depended too much on our military base. And I would tell you that that's just not the case, right? When you look at this particular images and, of course, the employment sectors, I keep talking about some of the other industries that exist. You start to see a lion's share of that based in the middle with our healthcare and social assistance, right? So, of course, that aligns well with the health system that I just mentioned that we have here. You can see in the blue about 6.3% of professional services, real estate, finance, and industry, right? And so, yes, we have a lion's share of our military and federal civilian presence and some of the DoD spending that happens in our great city of Norfolk, but that actually balances well with some of the other industry verticals that really leans into the maritime and transportation hub. The growth of our property value we've seen have been restored as well. So just like every other municipality, when you go back to the times of some of the recessions going all the way back to 2008, 2010, and 11, you see a drop historically in some of our property values, which is no surprise in the market. But what you also see is that we balanced well and recovered well as it relates to some of our real estate assessments here. And again, this is in various verticals, right? So you can lean this into the commercial assessments as well as the residential assessment. So it really talks about the strength of recovery of our city as we go through these economic ebbs and flows. Again, I'll couple that specifically with the residential real estate assessments. If you go to where we are right now, dating to about 2023 and 2024, you see an annual 10-year increase of these rates of about 4.7%, and then a 20-year average of about 5.2% just in our residential market. And then this gives a really great story on the mixture of tax bases here. So this then starts to bring in, of course, not just your real estate, but also, of course, your food and bev, your personal property tax, your machinery and tool taxes. All this actually aligns with the strategic growth of our city over these past 10 years to be able to recover from any economic downfalls as it relates to COVID, or as I said before, our 2008 recovery period as well. And then this is a great, great story as it relates to our meals and our hotel particular tax numbers. Everybody took a hit. Once again, we've seen that the recovery of pre-pandemic on our hotels as well as our tourism taxes have increased. Again, leading into some of the entertainment aspects that we have downtown, specifically our casino. Obviously, with us being the only tourism hub as it relates to the Carnival cruise ships, all these things are leading to increased hotel nights, RevPAR, and daily average numbers that's starting to see and be generated in our fiscal budget. So this is really the highlight, right? So Norfolk will continue to be the center of commerce, again, with the diversity of our professional service jobs, as well as our skills trades jobs and manufacturing, as well as the maritime industry. Norfolk will always be the highest average of compensation in Hampton Roads as it relates to the rest of our competitors and our sister cities. Again, you see a steady growth of population current day, which also aligns well with the personal per capita personal income. And then when I talked about the visitation, we're starting to see these numbers increase with more than 80% of the Hampton Roads residents actually visiting downtown. So again, when you layer in the arts, when you layer in the culture, and you layer in the entertainment, this really starts to equate to why we are not just the medical hub, not just the education hub, but the arts and entertainment hub for the city and for the region. I now want to pass the floor over to Dr. Susan Perry so she can talk a little more about what's happened in the past with the St. Paul's transformation in Origin and Kindred. Ma'am, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Well, good morning. And I think to give you a little bit of perspective of where we've been, Sean is talking about all of the opportunity in downtown and in our city. And I think part of this work is to ensure that all of our neighborhoods are able to access that opportunity, that all of our neighborhoods are able to connect, including the St. Paul's neighborhoods, which have traditionally been isolated and not able to do so. In 2013, the city was named 100 Resilient Cities, one of 100 Resilient Cities by the Rockefeller Foundation. And that has really helped drive the work that we're doing in the St. Paul's area and around the city. It's gone from again, being a member of that 100 Resilient Cities to now planning and building $1 billion flood wall, because that is one of the things that we know that does not discriminate based on race or income, is the water goes where the water wants to go. And many of our neighborhoods are challenged with that, including 2 of those in St. Paul's. And so when we began the first phase of the redevelopment of St. Paul's, Tidewater Gardens, now the Kindred neighborhood, that was really the impetus behind it. And so we really talk about building a resilient community. And so we do that through successful planning and a thoughtful planning process, right? So we really think about this as a transformational planning model that includes radical collaboration. So not only just regional and internal, external stakeholders, but really collaborating with residents and other community partners, really thinking about placemaking and connectivity. And so a big part of our first phase of St. Paul's redevelopment is really thinking about how do we ensure that we're not just erasing the culture and community of the neighborhoods that exist today, and really ensuring that we use placemaking and green space and connectivity in order to maintain that culture of the community. And then just really thinking creatively about not just what does the data tell us of what types of services we need to bring to residents, but also how do we handle the massive flooding that the communities experience. And so bringing that to the St. Paul's area prior to the transformation of Tidewater Gardens, there were just under 1,700 units of public housing, so home to 4,200 residents. Tidewater Gardens was built over an old creek bed. So when I say water goes where it wants to go, it has memory. Where we see that flooding is exactly where we buried that creek underground. And it really, again, became the lens for how we thought about the physical transformation of the community. And then always wanting to put, as Mr. Sin said, people first, really thinking about resilient communities in terms of infrastructure, but also resilient communities in terms of supporting residents. So we started thinking about flooding differently, right? So you can see images here. In the past, it was really about how do we build big flood walls, and there are instances in which we'll still need to do that or raise homes. But our work through the Dutch dialogues in 2012, 2013 really became about how do we live with water. And so you can see some images here of the St. Paul's area on the left, and then how it is envisioned on the right. And the work that we're doing in the first phase of Tidewater Gardens Kindred, you can see in that bottom image, does lift the top of that old creek bed off so that it can maintain and hold that water when it needs to, but also provide a really great amenity to the neighborhood. Another image there of that. And so when you think about the greater St. Paul's area that included the former Tidewater Gardens, but also now as you're beginning to think about Calvert Square and Young Terrace, you can see just all of the property in the immediate vicinity that is owned by the Housing Authority and the city collectively. So to Mr. Sims' point, there's lots of opportunity for the build first approach that NRHA is taking that does not disrupt families' lives, and gives us some opportunity to really think about more of a mixed income community, which is what the residents originally told us in the first phase of this planning opportunity. It's also our opportunity to connect this area that has traditionally been isolated back into the fabric of downtown. And so you can see it's just, the St. Paul's Boulevard was a dividing line. It's just adjacent to all of that opportunity that Mr. Washington talked about. And through our connectivity of our roads and our infrastructure, we're threading that back into downtown. But it's also, within half a mile of 4 tied light rail stations. It has regional interstate access and close to the largest and strongest real estate market, which is our downtown. So this is absolutely an opportunity to think differently about housing and how we use that housing to serve the residents who live there today, as well as future residents who may live there in the future. I mentioned all of that flooding. You can see the 100-year flood map here covers much of what was Tidewater Gardens, which is now resolved with, or at least assisted and mitigated through that blue greenway. But Calvert Square also is largely impacted by flooding. And so we would ask the developers to really think about that and think creatively about how you live with water, but also use that land to provide amenities to residents and get the most out of the housing that you can. So when we began working through the redevelopment of Tidewater Gardens, again, it was really around a vision to master plan to improve flooding, to provide safety and great diverse housing options, and also to create economic mobility for our residents. It really was the opportunity to implement our resilience strategy writ large. So within that neighborhood, we are looking at coastal resilience, economic resilience, again, of our residents, and neighborhood resilience. And so that first community was 618 housing units. We'll come back with 714 mixed income housing units. And I think what was really important was our initial feedback from residents was that they wanted a diversity of housing types. And so there are, that previous slide did show you larger apartment buildings. You see an image here of Origin Circle at Kindred. That is a multifamily apartment building. But we have now broken ground on much lower density housing that includes townhouses and walk-up apartments that have more of that front door, back door that we heard from residents are really important to them. And so we've got phase one completed. Those are the first two buildings, Origin Circle and Reunion, which is a senior building, and former residents have moved back into that Kindred neighborhood along with new residents. Phase two is leasing up this summer and in the early fall. And then phase three is under construction on the other side of Church Street, as I mentioned, which is that lower density housing. The city had to completely replace all of the infrastructure in this neighborhood. Again, flooding was an issue, but all of the stormwater utility pipes were old and outdated and all needed to be completely replaced. And then this area also will have 40,000 square feet of commercial and retail. So I think the developers also should think through that in terms of a good mix of what will exist in the first phase and what can exist in the future phases that complement each other. And again, just building this coastal resilience park along Tidewater Drive. It is a 22-acre park that manages the stormwater and the tidal flooding that the neighborhood experiences, but also provides this amazing amenity with walking trails, ballparks, playgrounds, opportunities, again, to highlight the culture and community of the neighborhood in those green spaces. But it was really important for us. That helps bring the housing dwellings out of the floodplain. It preserves beautiful, mature trees that also soak up water. And again, just responds to the amenities and the things that we heard from residents that they desired for the neighborhoods. We hope that same kind of creativity of living with water, at least for the Calvert Square neighborhood, is continued into the next phase of planning. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, as Mr. Sims said, this is an expensive endeavor. And Norfolk has been very fortunate to be able to complement local funding and private equity from the developers with federal and state funding. And so we'll have to do that again and braid all funding sources together to really be able to create an amazing neighborhood. As Mr. Sims said, it was it's always very important for us as we think about and kick off design charrettes that's very much focused on the physical aspects. That's what we're here today to talk about. A developer who will come in and help us master plan the physical aspect of the neighborhood. But by and large, our largest asset in the St. Paul's area are our people. And so we absolutely heard residents. We designed the People First program with them at the table. And it looks at 4 kind of pillars, obviously housing stability as the base, but economic mobility, education, and health as well. We received and have achieved some amazing outcomes with residents at the table. And I would implore everybody involved in this project to continue to keep people first at the heart of this transformation. And then on the physical aspect, some of the things that we would look to from previous plans as sort of a guide for the next launch of these of this next planning phase that we heard from residents that were important sort of as guiding principles is mixed income, mixed use developments, that connection to downtown. Again, all that opportunity that Mr. Washington talked about, we want to ensure that all of our neighborhoods are able to connect to it. So that's going to be really important as we think through infrastructure redevelopment. Diverse building types, again, larger apartment buildings, but also think about, townhouses and cottage style homes that better serve our families. Really thinking about open space and how we live with water. Our churches are a huge landmark in this area. There are more than 30 churches just in the vicinity of St. Paul's. And so how do we engage those communities and those churches and institutions in this planning effort is going to be really important. Spoke about water management and connectivity. And then again, just the larger economic vitality and the larger system of really parallel efforts of the physical transformation, as well as the connection and support of families. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to start with our presentations, our developer presentations. The first presentation will be by Gilbane Development Company out of Arlington, Virginia.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. All right. Well, again, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone. I'm Raj Robinson, Senior Vice President at Gilbane Development Company. I'm joined here by my esteemed colleagues who are actually running the show on this, Bob Tingen and Nelson DeJesus. Bob is a Senior Development Manager. Nelson is a Development Associate. I run our affordable and mixed income housing business at Gilbane. Gilbane is a long-standing real estate development and construction company. We've been around since 1870, so 155 years. We started off as a builder, building various types of real estate assets around the country. In 1970, we launched our development arm and got into the development, ownership, and acquisition business. The Gilbane Development Company has 4 verticals: public-private partnerships, student housing, market rate housing, and then affordable and mixed income housing, which the 3 of us sit on. Gilbane is very dedicated to affordable and mixed income housing. We have a long history of developing it and building it. We have over 11,000 units of affordable and mixed income housing in various phases. As far north, in terms of geography, as far north as Massachusetts, as far south as North Carolina. Gilbane has 2 offices in Virginia and Arlington and in Richmond. And the DMV generally is second largest geography on the affordable and mixed income side. So it's a region we're very dedicated to. In terms of the team structure and organization here, let's see, Gilbane will serve as the, if we're so lucky, will serve as the lead developer and construction manager. Duvernay and Brooks is a financial consultant. They have extensive experience with HUD. Joseph Brown Development Associates will serve as our local consultant. They have extensive experience with affordable housing of all types in Virginia. We're actually joined here by our architect, WRT, David's here. And WRT has extensive experience with choice neighborhood, affordable housing development. And then VICA is our civil engineer. Bob is here. We've worked with VICA on several projects in the DMV area, so we have a great working relationship with them. And on the right side is a list of the other consultants and counsel that we're using, as well as the property management, if we're so lucky to do this. But again, we're very excited to be here and look forward to presenting.
Thank you, Raj. So as Raj mentioned, I'm Bob Tingen, the Senior Development Manager at Gilbane Development Company. I've been with the company for a little under 2 years, and I have over 10 years of affordable housing experience, both in development, finance, and also local government alum in DC. So I've kind of sat at the same table and wore multiple hats. So I kind of viewed these projects very holistically, and Gilbane also views these projects in a holistic manner. We understand the beauty of public-private partnership and the importance of collaboration. And we've had the opportunity to work with municipalities around the country to deliver affordable housing and other types of various housing. And the reasons why Gilbane should be selected for this particular opportunity is we have over 50 years of experience in development. As Raj mentioned, we have 10,000 units in different various stages of development. We have a local presence with our offices in Northern Virginia, as well as Richmond. And we're a team dedicated to affordable housing. We have a dedicated vertical. It's not a opportunistic business plan. It's part of our brand ethos. And that's something that's very different from companies that do both market rate and affordable. It's something that we have a dedicated division with its own vertical head. So it's very apparent that affordable housing is important to Bain and all the members of the mixed income vertical. And just to highlight, within the DC, Maryland, Virginia region, we have 2.8 billion either completed or under construction. And here's some examples of our architect WRT's project, just not too far away in Newport News. And here's a bit of an offering of some of the housing we've done to date. Delta Pearl and Delta Tower will cover in our case study. Madison Yards will cover in our case study. Towson Road and Sovereign are projects that we've done in Maryland. And the Peninsula is a project that we completed in the Bronx. And I'll highlight Sovereign really quickly. That's a project that we partnered with Amazon on. It's a transit-oriented development site in Hyattsville, Maryland. And we were able to deliver units where 50% of the units are at or below 80% of AMI, with the rest being market rate. Market rate in Hyattsville is close to 80%, but we anticipate that it will increase over time. So we're able to restrict, half of the building at 80% to ensure that workforce house residents will have opportunity to live there for the future to come. And now I'll give an overview of our first case study, which is we call Delta Pearl and Delta Fortitude. We had the opportunity to partner with Delta Sigma Data Incorporated on a site that they own for approximately 50 years. The alum chapter, the Washington, D.C. alum chapter of Delta Sigma Data developed Delta Towers in 1979 in partnership with DC government as well as HUD. And this project was 100% subsidized by HUD, and it was dedicated for seniors. And so you can imagine over time, this project, well, when it was created was, best in class construction, but over 50 years, building systems started to fail and the quality of life for the residents started to decrease over time. And the Delta's conscious of that, issued an RFP to select a development group to redevelop the site. And we partnered with a local developer, Dante's Partners, to redevelop the site. And the reason why we're featuring this particular project is because it has all of the elements that are anticipated to be part of the transformation of Young Terrace and Calvert Square. There's public-private partnership. HUD is involved in this project. There was tenant relocation, overall master planning of the site, and then obviously the financing associated with the full project. Delta Towers has 179 units, and then Delta Pearl has 166 units. So with our new construction build first model, we were able to minimize displacement of residents. And I'll just give a little bit overview of what a build first model is. Build first is a strategy which strives to minimize displacement, where you identify a site in close proximity where you can do a new construction project first, which will allow tenants to stay in place in their residence and then be relocated into the new construction. So they're not kind of displaced throughout the community and having to have significant disruption to their everyday life. And so here we're able to do that with Fortitude at Delta Towers, which took the previous 150 unit community, and we built 170 units of new construction housing, all dedicated to seniors, which included a number of amenities that they didn't have in their previous community: conference cafe, lounge, laundry, fitness, gaming, excellent rooftop terrace. This building is one of the highest structures in that part of the city. And so you can see the Capitol and the monument. It's a great place to go during 4th of July because you have like unrivaled views of the fireworks. And so it's a really great amenity that the seniors have now that they didn't have before in their previous community. And then what we did with the existing tower is we did a substantial renovation of the existing tower, complete gut rehab, and increased the unit count by 16 units. And this building now serves as a home for workforce housing residents, where 50% of the units here are dedicated to residents who are at or below 80% AMI. So we transformed what was once a senior community into an intergenerational community. And so it's always kind of this like nice feel-good story because we're all, coming behind the people that came before us, and then the seniors being able to have a new state-of-the-art community, and also leveraging their old building to create opportunities for young families in that same footprint. And I'll give you a little bit of overview of the financing structure. We leverage tax-exempt bonds from DCHFA, which is the local bond issuer in DC, low-income housing tax credits, construction loans, and DC's Department of Housing Community Development gave us a grant loan of $23 million for the Delta Fortitude project. And as I mentioned, you can kind of see in that corner image, that top view. In the distance, you can see the Capitol and the monument. And these are kind of the courtyards within and some of the community spaces within Delta Fortitude. And again, in closing, we leverage the build first model. You can kind of see in a little bit in the corner that in the first rendering, the previous building wasn't there just yet. And the second view shows you kind of angle headed west of how the new construction is directly adjacent to the previous tower. And here are some images of the neighborhood. This is the 8th Street corridor, a very vibrant community, and Delta Towers and Delta Fortitude and Delta Pearl kind of serve as like the entryway into the 8th Street corridor. So there's a great revitalization opportunity that we are proud to be able to participate in. And then with respect to management, we worked with Faria Management, who is an affiliate of our co-developer, which gave us a tremendous insight into the operations of the building. We had a property management company that was committed to delivering for our tenants, and they had the opportunity to build relationships with the tenants the entire process throughout the development process. And now they're the manager of both the new construction opportunities. They manage 3,300 units across 18 communities, and one community in Petersburg, Virginia, that has 185 units. As I mentioned before, there was a process, there was an RFP, so there's significant community engagement involved with this process. Multiple presentations were given to the residents to inform them of our overall development process and schedule. A number of the amenities that were put into Delta Fortitude came through conversations with the residents of what they wanted to see in their new community, and also in partnership with our other co-developer, the Deltas, who had significant input into the visioning for the community. And last but not least, within this project, we had a goal mandated by the city to allocate 35% of the budget to MBEs and WBEs, and we were able to exceed that goal by 5%, and 4% of overall cost was committed and spent with MBEs and WBE organizations. We had a similar goal for Delta Pearl, and we exceeded that by 10%. And so we're proud that we were able to do a transformative development and giving everyone an opportunity to have a seat at the table and participate in the project. And now I'll hand it over to Nelson to give an overview of our second case study.
Right. Good morning still, everyone. My name is Nelson de Jesus Uri, and I have been at Gilbane for over 2 years now. Prior to Gilbane, I worked for the New York City Economic Development Corporation, so very focused on economic development around the city, working industrial, affordable housing, and commercial development. And prior to that, I was a planner/architect. So long journey to here. And so here we have our second case study, where we'll show a different side of our skill set at Gilbane. So this project is Madison Yards, which is located in Madison, Wisconsin, just southwest of the capital in the University of Madison, Wisconsin. And so this one was developed as a live, work, play development, multi-phase, in collaboration with the state, where the state wanted a new office building to replace their older building, and then the adjacent properties will be developed into a mixed-use project. And so this project combines residential, it combines office, it has a hotel, various parking structures, as well as retail spaces at ground level. And so the scale of the project is quite large. The largest of the 3 residential projects, residential buildings having 270 units, which you see here in the picture. And then the other one's smaller scale, which I'll show in a second in the floor plan. And then in the center of it is a community olive green space, which Gilbane works with, is property management for the property to activate year round. So Madison Yards is a market rate development designed to include all of the various programming that I mentioned just now, but also it was financed through more standard financing mechanisms, such as equity from the development team, Gilbane, limited partner equity, or a capital partner, as well as a standard construction loan. So this one here, you see the different images of amenity spaces, spaces, interior spaces within the development, as well as bird's eye view of the campus, where you can see a closer, different angle of EO, which is the residential building here. As one of the main components of the project was the supermarket that was included in block 2. And so this is a picture of the Whole Foods that's currently there. And so this is a 50,000 square foot space that is currently active. And so this is part of that, mentality that wanted to make it a very mixed use development, but also thinking through the fact that it includes so many uses. How can we make it more walkable and accessible? So the team really thought about how can the development feel accessible to all that live in it, but also the community around it, and what kind of amenities will serve not just the development itself, but the larger community and the city. We work with, thinking like local zoning, but also thinking about traffic patterns. How can local streets come into development? Since you'll see in the site plan in a second, how we have interior streets that connect to the broader network of streets, but also thinking about how can we, pedestrian access to public transport, and other networks and systems such as recycling strategies to be incorporated in the development. So this here is the site plan. And so here you can see the broad, the different phases, different blocks within the development. So in all, it's 7 blocks, with block 1 having 25,000 square foot of retail, 116,000 office space, a residential building of 80 units in a parking structure in the southeast of the lot. In the northeast, you have the Whole Foods, which is the 50,000 square foot space, the supermarket. We have the EO, which is the largest of the 3 residential buildings, and then also the parking structure in the middle. Block 3 is another residential, about 200 units, and more retail space. Then block 4, we have the hotel. In block 4 and block 3, so all of them really touch the central space, which is block 6 for that open space in the plaza. Block 5 is an office space, which you see closer to where the state office building is located, which is block 7. And so all of this, you can see the streets coming in, but a portion of the streets around block 6 is really pedestrian, because we wanted to make sure that we are providing amenities to everybody, bikers, cars, everybody that is part of this development. And so this is, like I mentioned before, the public plaza is where we host year-round farmers markets, as well as other public programming to activate the space here. For the property management company, we are working with Village Green, which is a privately held company that's been around for quite a long time. And so they are quite large property management. They manage about 50,000 nationwide, have a lot of experience with mixed-use development, which is why we wanted to partner with them, because they have quite skill set that we were looking for this development. And in terms of participation, we typically participation, community engagement is part of our genetics, and that's part of our projects. And so here, aside from hosting the farmers markets, the live concerts in that central area, we also have community residential meetings monthly in the largest of the 3 residential buildings. And then we have also online portals for residents to learn about the project, but also provide feedback. And that's something that we'll also set for our projects across the board, where we just have online place where folks can access, see what's going on, provide updates, and if there's any community residential meetings, we post them there as well. And that's about it for me. So thank you.
So, thank you, Nelson. In closing, first and foremost, we just want to thank everyone for giving us the opportunity to present here today. Very fortunate to be shortlisted for this amazing opportunity. Whoever is selected is going to be able to participate in a very transformational development in the city of Norfolk. It's an amazing site. Its proximity to downtown is great, and it's going to be something that people talk about for years to come. And we believe that Gilbane is the best fit for this particular project. And I'll just recap some of the things that we said before. Our company and our organization has been around for over 50 years. We specialize in affordable and mixed income housing. We have dedicated staff in the Virginia area, as well as throughout the country, dedicated to affordable mixed income housing. And we are a great partner. We're very transparent. We strive to deliver on our promise. And we hope that we have the opportunity to work with the city of Norfolk Housing Authority, and the tenants of Young Terrace and Calvert Square to transform this amazing community. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you to Gilbane and your presenters. We are now moving into the portion of the event that everybody can participate in, lunch. Not literally, right? So we are going to break now for lunch. And we ask that everybody please be back by 12:45 because we have 2 more presentations after the lunch break. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Camden Carpenter on behalf of the NHP Foundation, Gibbs Inspire, and our larger development team. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. As a former long-term resident of Newport News, being able to come back to the Hampton Roads after years of studying what it means to do real estate development, to understand how to truthfully impact the community and those who live in it, this is a dream come true. So for our agenda, we'll be presenting in the same order that it was presented in the RFP, starting with our team introductions and finishing with MVEWB inclusion. Our org chart, as you can see, is fairly extensive, but we are proud to have a primarily locally based team, 8 of which are based in the Hampton Roads, another 2 from Alexandria and Richmond.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Welsh, and I'm part of the NHPF team. I want to first tell you about our organization. We are a 501c3 nonprofit housing development company, started 35 years ago. Across our extensive development period, we have built and renovated more than 20,000 apartment homes, and across more than a dozen states and the District of Columbia, including here in Virginia. We have been recognized for our creativity and innovation in project finance, design, and resident services. Part of what makes us unique is our partnerships. It is key to what we do, what we're able to achieve. We have worked with a number of housing authorities, with churches, and with emerging development partners who want to expand their capacity. And those who have worked with us have found us to be a reliable partner. Gibbs Inspire is our development partner. Tom Gibson is the sole proprietor of Gibbs Inspire. Besides being a native Virginian, he is also a Marine. He unfortunately could not join us today because he is in California at 29 Palms doing his active duty training. So Tom has been a developer for a number of years, spent a considerable period of time on the Virginia Housing Board as well. So we're happy to have him as part of our team. Operation Pathways is NHPF's resident services affiliate. You're going to hear from Kent White, who's seated to my left, to talk about the programming and achievements that they've been able to deliver for residents at our properties. It is an award-winning organization that takes a resident-centered approach to what it is that they do. It directs their program design, implementation, and decision-making across 4 primary components: academic achievement, financial stability and growth, healthier living, diet, exercise, food access, and for our seniors, aging in place. Back to Camden.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Harkins, our general contractor, represented today by Ben and Pete.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here with Pete Schaff, who's our construction executive overseeing the Hampton Roads region. Special thing about Harkins Builders is we're 100% employee owned, which really drives our culture in a positive way. We have 60 years worth of affordable housing construction experience throughout the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. And we're just honored to be part of this team today and grateful to have the opportunity.
Next, I'd like to introduce our architects, Mosley, represented by Tom, Magda, and Martina.
Hi, I'm Magda Westerhout with Mosley Architects, Tom Legal and Martina Riley, part of our team. And we are passionate about designing in ways to create community. We're currently working here in Norfolk and really excited about the potential and glad to be here today.
Our civil engineer Timmons group, represented by John and Brandon.
Gonna try to say my last name. Hey, everybody, for Timmons Group, we're a full service engineering and surveying firm. We have a long history of city of Norfolk, opportunity working together with the development team.
Our lead counsel, William Smullen, represented by Elizabeth and Tyler.
And this is my colleague Tyler Rose. We're with Williams Mullen, which is a full service law firm with really 3 attorneys in the Hampton Roads area. Our team has worked on numerous transactions in the city of Norfolk and has significant experience with both zoning and affordable housing developments, including the recent St. Paul's transformation project. And we're excited to be a part of this team and continue the transformation.
Our property manager and commercial broker, represented by Lisa.
Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Brewer Rodriguez. I'm Director of Business Development at Drucker & Hawk, in Newport News. And we've been in business since 1938 and are a SWAM certified woman-owned company. We're proud to be named also to the National Multifamily Housing list of top 50 managers in the country. And we're an accredited management organization. We manage 44,000 apartments in 10 states and 5,000 affordable housing communities. Our principal, Wendy Drucker, could not be here today. She can't wait to appear before you in the future. She makes her apologies, but she is, as we speak, literally in front of the Planning Commission trying to get rezoning approved for yet another wonderful housing.
Our commercial co-broker, Venture, represented by Bruce.
I am Bruce Berlin, one of the managing partners of Venture Realty Group based in Virginia Beach. We have developed over 8 million square feet of commercial product with a total value of $1.5 billion. About half of that being in retail. Other types of products we have developed are office, industrial, and multifamily. All of our multifamily of which is managed by Drucker & Hawk. Very excited to be part with this team today.
Our transaction attorney, Klein Hornick, unfortunately, their team is unable to attend, but they send their regards. They have extensive experience working in the state of Virginia and close between 15 and 20 affordable housing deals annually. Our supportive services partner will also oversee WB, MBE, Section 3, as well as community engagement, J&G, represented by Grace and Michelle.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Grace Washington. This is our strategic planner, Michelle Banks. Our firm was founded in 2014 on the premise that we could utilize the dollars coming into our low-income communities for affordable housing, how we could leverage that money to provide economic inclusivity for those residents living in the community. So we provide an array of services, as she said, supportive services, community engagement, Section 3. One of the things we realized, though our clients are public housing agencies, municipalities, developers, that who we serve are the residents. We currently have 17 active projects throughout Virginia. We have a client who has termed us the people whisperer because that is really our job. The rest of our team has the hard work of building buildings and putting an entire project together. We are focused on the people because that is why we're all here, and that's what we do it for. We do it through, some comprehensive case management, coordination, and early on we invested in technology because one of the things that we have done is provide detailed and comprehensive assessment so that we can find out how our residents want to be communicated to. But in addition to that, we want to track what they say, how they've said it, so we can start to develop authentic relationships with them. Thank you.
Our homeownership partner, Habitat for Humanity of Southampton Roads, represented by Frank.
Again, you can't say last name. My last name is Rushker. Since 1988, we have been the local habitat here in Norfolk. Habitat for Humanity is the best known affordable housing builder on the planet. My office, our office is right across from Calvert Square, right on Tidewater Drive. Every day I look at it from my window. We are part of this community and we look forward to rebuilding our neighborhood.
And finally, our community partner, Peak Childhood Center. Unfortunately, Jennifer is also unable to attend. They have exciting news though. They're opening their second facility in Newport News, Virginia. So just for some context, they provide affordable childcare to families with children between the ages of 8 weeks up to 5 years old. It's a kindergarten readiness program that provides children with the skills that they need for social and emotional, as well as math and literature. So now that we've got introductions out of the way, we'd like to speak a little bit about our hosting implementation and transformation experience. So I'd like to turn it over to Mansur Abdul Malik.
Gotta make sure I set my timer. I don't want nobody to come to get me. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mansur Abdul Malik. I'm the Senior Vice President of Development for the NHP Foundation. And the example that we would like to present today is for a neighborhood redevelopment in the Park Heights neighborhood in Northwest Baltimore City. The reason that we want to present this is because, number one, it's recent. So you have the ability to check facts. Number two, this was and is totally community led. And how we did that, I believe, is an option for us to be able to discuss to be done here in this community. Obviously, I am not trying to Maryland or Virginia, but I am trying to show you what I've done. And what I ask is that you grade the NHP Foundation on how we keep our house, which will show you the respect that we're going to have for yours. So, first, the Park Heights redevelopment is a 17-acre master plan, which is a part of a very large redevelopment opportunity in the Park Heights neighborhood of Northwest Baltimore City. Park Heights is home to the Preakness, which is the second jewel in Triple Crown, of which that neighborhood is a 50% AMI neighborhood. The vast majority of people that are there, that live there, that call Park Heights home, are people that are Black and brown. This neighborhood has seen disinvestment. This neighborhood has been subject to slander and descriptions of crime because it's going through challenges. And instead, what it is hope, it's strength. The city of Baltimore put out an RFP, of which it was a competitive RFP. The NHP Foundation was selected as a finalist. Through that, their process was for the developer to meet the community. In this instance, today, I'm giving you a presentation about what we can do. The Park Heights was in reverse. I sat down in a chair and I had to listen to everything that the community wanted, of which I then had to come up with a way for me to be able to bring it as best I could. If I couldn't, I needed to explain to you why. In this instance, we were blessed to be selected as the master developer for the 17 acres, a part of this redevelopment plan, of which our plan included rental housing, but the affordable rental that was built was not to be subsidized, meaning there was not project-based rental assistance. The reason behind that is because the community understood that there was enough project-based rental assistance that was there, of which there were folks that at certain levels of income that they wanted to start to step that up. We want to bring higher incomes into our neighborhood and our neighborhood to be a true mixed income neighborhood. The next thing they wanted was home ownership. The NHP Foundation is a rental multifamily developer. However, we became a single family home developer and partnering with folks that not only do home ownership, but also finance it, as well as working with master planners to make sure that we're building place, community, not just property. So with that being said and being selected, everything that we did from the beginning moving forward was all because the community wanted to. And in the event that they changed their mind, then we changed ours. And what does that mean? I'll keep going. This was vacant land, of which the community wanted that land activated. With that being said, we cut the grass. I got site control, right? If I'm your neighbor, I need to pick up the trash. I need to cut the grass just like anyone else. But we did it. The community wanted to make sure that there was a utilization of the site before buildings happen. What did we do? We worked with the community in order for us to start a festival. So we are in the 5th year of the George Spider Anderson Festival, which is a celebration of the first Black man to win the Preakness. Every year we go ahead and we live stream the races. We bring out vendors. This year we had MC Light and Dougie Fresh. Feel free to go on Instagram and look at this. Please fact check me. That festival started off very small. It started off during COVID, where we were offering vaccine clinics, book bags, and the like, and it grew. We also have a tree farm that's there. We understand that tree line neighborhoods and equivalent neighborhoods, those that are tree line typically have higher equity in their homes. The benefit of this community here and driving it, you have very old trees that need to be saved. You need to keep those trees because they equate to equity. They equate to the diversity and income that you may want to see in your community. It's on us to make sure we put together a development team that is sensitive to those specifics and is delivering a product that the community wants and the community is going to benefit in the long term. The financing was done in a manner, admittedly, a 100-year pandemic financed the bulk of this with ARPA money, the American Rescue Plan Act. Baltimore City got $650 million, right? Many cities around the country got that same money, right? Housing is a right? Your income should not dictate whether or not your kids go to good schools, whether or not you have access to infrastructure, whether or not you can own a house. So in using those funds, Mayor Scott and Governor Wes Moore put together a myriad of programs that we used along with the ARPA funds in order for us to be able to finance the transaction. One of the things that was unique about it was we were able to include infrastructure into that transaction, of which the financial engineering allowed us to generate more equity for the project that went back into the community in order for us to be able to do the type of development that the community wanted. That included green spaces, that includes public art, of which the community assisted on all of it from day one. I am not here to prescribe what we do here. What I'm here to show is that, number one, we've done a lot and there's a menu for us to choose from. And I am not professing, nor is anyone in this team professing to know it all. We want you to tell us, you know it all about your community. And we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, to listen more, speak less. So we ask for the opportunity to be able to do that, have that dialogue. And we come up with a solution that makes sense. We do not want to be right, we want to get it right. And the only way to do that is with your input. So throughout this presentation, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the specifics on the Park Heights community. But I hope that the takeaway from this, and then I'll go ahead and I'll take this back to Camden, is that this Park Heights community is a recent one that you can go ahead and judge us by and you can look at, and how the development team work with the community. Oh, by the way, that development team is 100% Black-led, Black woman-led to be specific. That includes ownership. That means something. Governor Moore at our ribbon cutting, and I'll leave you with this. Governor Moore blessed us with his presence at the ribbon cutting. He brought church too. I ain't going front. He said, in this community, nothing about us without us. That is our motto. Nothing about the community without the community. And that is going to be our plan. That is going to be our goal. That is going to be our mantra moving forward if given the opportunity to work with you. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Bruce to speak briefly on their unventure success with Atlantic Park and Virginia Beach.
Thank you. And I'll include a little bit of retail. We're going to help on the retail portion. So Venture Realty Group are developers of some of the largest retail projects in Hampton Roads, including Hampton Town Center on the peninsula, Marketplace at Hilltop, Redville Commons, and Edinburgh Commons, the latter 2 being anchored by Walmart and Home Depots in both. And in the grocery segment, we built Food Lions and Winn-Dixie's. In addition, we are currently developing Atlantic Park, shown on the slide, which is a $350 million mixed-use project, the city of Virginia Beach. This exciting project with our partner Pharrell Williams featured the Dome music venue that is now open. Come down. a surf park, 100,000 square feet of retail, and 309 apartments.
Okay, moving on, we'd like to discuss our financial and leveraging capacity, starting with John Walsh to speak about the NHP Foundation.
Few more words about our organization. We are a team of approximately 50 staff. We have competencies, development, resident services, construction management, finance, and asset management. As Mansour mentioned, we are a Black-led organization. Besides our president and CEO, many of our leadership team, many of our members of our board of directors are women and people of color. Part of what we pride ourselves on is the success that we've been able to deliver through diligence, perseverance, and innovation. In partnership, in the District of Columbia, we have developed 9 what are called TOPA. TOPA stands for Tenants Opportunity to Purchase Act. This is a nationally recognized vehicle for residents of their properties to have a say to participate in the development or redevelopment of their home. We have been selected by those resident organizations at those 9 properties to work with them because they believe in who we are and what we're able to achieve together. So that has been a hugely impactful partnership for us across the many years that we have been working in the District of Columbia. Another part that I would bring up is about our innovation, particularly as it relates to finance and what we're able to leverage. A couple of years ago, NHPF issued a social bond, $75 million in taxable social impact bonds, AA rated by Standard & Poor's, which is a quite a solid financial recognition of the NHP Foundation and our commitment and capacity. We've also done projects financed with not only 9% low-income housing tax credits and or tax exempt bonds, 4% credits, but we've combined them. We've got as part of our development team who have combined those to leverage and increase the capacity of the redevelopment projects that we've been able to undertake. It's been hugely catalytic. We've also developed properties without using local housing tax credits. We've used 501c3 bonds, which we have the capacity to issue, and used local resources to help finance both housing redevelopment, but also infrastructure, utilities, public art. All of this has been impactful in how we've been able to change our communities. One of the other things that I would just add is that in working with local partners, this has been another vehicle for us to expand their capacity. They have wanted to work with us, and we think that is a huge part of what we're able to deliver with local emerging leaders.